think we should be recording. Yes. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, welcome back, guys. So we are finishing week three. One, two, three. Yeah, we're finishing week three. So week three of the cut going into four this upcoming week. So a lot's happened. Um, and also with the video schedules. So, as you might have seen, I didn't post this week, except I believe for Monday. What I decided was I'm going to be doing these videos at a weekly basis, so once every week, just because I feel like I feel like it's just more time efficient for me if I do it that way, where I can just kind of dump all of my thoughts that I have in the week into one video. And it doesn't require me to keep having to try recording something and uploading and going back and forth, trying to juggle that with the other things that I have going on in the other day or in the rest of the day, because when I was trying to do that, like I was able to do it for so long, but it wasn't really something that I could sustain. Because it would just be very time consuming. Like, even though I record these and just upload these videos, kind of like I just upload the raw footage, I don't do really any edits. The process of me like recording and then uploading them onto YouTube and kind of doing all that, it kind of takes about like maybe like an hour and a half for me to kind of get that all situated and ready to go so it's uploaded onto YouTube. But having to do that every single day, that kind of just drains my time. And I was kind of going to bed pretty late because of that. So I'm going to try to fix that up and just do these at a weekly basis. So just following a weekly routine, and I might just make the videos a little bit longer just so we kind of cover everything. But it's I feel like still going to be the same thing. So we got quite a few things to kind of unpack from this week. But I quickly just wanted to talk about that schedule. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be recording on the Sunday of each week. So I'm going to be recording these at the end of a given week and uploading them on the next day on a Monday. So anytime you see me, you see a video, it's from the perspective that we just concluded that week. And I'm going to be entering the new week, right? So we're going to be talking about what happened this past week, given that today, as I'm recording this, it is Sunday. So a couple things to kind of go through. First and foremost, I guess before we get to that, with how we weighed in this week. So again, I am going with that medium kind of tally with how we're calculating the weights, and the weight that I pretty much achieved this week was 180.9. So that is a new low weigh in. We officially hit the 180 mark, which is really good. So we're roughly down about 5 pounds, a little bit under 5 pounds from when we started. And so that's really, really good. We're again finishing up week three. This is 10 weeks of me that's going to be, I'm going to be doing this. So the fact that we're already down 4 pounds and I have about 11 pounds to go, that's still good. We're still on track to kind of achieve the goal that I have in mind. I don't know if how I said it previously, and I've given it some thought. Before, the goal for me was trying to hit 165 at the end of these 10 weeks. But realistically, I feel like that's going to be probably around 170. 170 is going to be my target. If I don't hit 170, but I'm close to it, I'm still going to be very happy with that. But the goal is going to be to hitting 170. Reason why I'm not going to 165, at least I don't think. We'll see how I feel after the end of the 10 weeks. I just remember last time when I was in that 165 mark, sure, I was pretty like quote unquote lean. But I didn't feel the greatest. I felt pretty shitty. My energy levels were really, really low, and I realistically don't think I'd be able to sustain it for that long. Because also when I finish these 10 weeks, my plan after that, at least right now, isn't to bulk back up. I'm gonna be staying around that weight for some time. And I just feel like 165 is a bit too light for me. So I'm thinking it's gonna be more so around 170. Um, Based on how I looked when I was 170 last time, I was really content with that. I liked how I looked. I felt great too. So it was kind of just the best of both worlds. Sure, I wasn't as lean, but I do not mind that at all. So I think the goal is going to be going to 170. And that's also something to keep in mind, especially for those of you that are looking to cut some weight, unless you have a really, if there's a specific reason as to why you need to get to a certain level of leanness, say for instance if you're competing, but that's not something that I'm going to be doing anytime soon. um, I feel like you got to be taking those two things into account, right? With how you look, if you're content or happy with it, but also how you feel, because there gets to a point where it's not really worth it, where your energy levels are so low that it just starts affecting your other areas in your life, and it's just not a fun time. And that's what I felt honestly when I hit that 165. Sure, I was happy with how I looked. It gave me that initial like kind of like spike in excitement, but kind of trying to be with that, that low of weight for some time. Looking back on it, it was pretty shitty. It wasn't the greatest, but yeah, I guess you live and you learn. And 170 is a more feasible weight for me for sure. So we only have about 10 pounds to go, which sure might seem like a lot, but it really isn't that much weight. And we do have 7 more weeks. So that doesn't necessarily mean I can slack off. Really can, especially if I want to hit that 170 mark, which I'm really going to try to aim for that. But I'm not worried or I'm not panicking that I'm not going to be able to hit that weight. As long as I dial in and just do the things that I need to be doing, I should be able to hit that weight. So this week, hopefully, I can kind of or reach into the 170s finally. That'll be the goal for this week, is to finally get into the 170 mark. And we'll see how that goes. Um, so yeah, those were the kind of the stats for this week. We made some great progress. We hit 180. Now we just need to kind of dip below that. Now, how did my workouts go this week? So a couple things. One, so last weekend I was out of town. I was out of town and I got back pretty much like Monday morning, and you might even hear it right now. I'm kind of getting over it, but I got sick pretty much starting around like Tuesday and Wednesday. And have not been feeling the greatest, if I'm being 100% honest. I still went through and did all of my workouts and did all my cardio and did all that, but I really had to kind of push extra hard through that. And also, I noticed, and this is something that I just had to keep in mind for myself going into this week, all my workouts, they weren't shitty, but they weren't how I wanted them to go. I was pretty fatigued throughout the entire week. Now, that could be a combination of a couple things. Me cutting weight down, coming back from my trip, also just being sick. So there's probably a couple of things working against me. I tried not to think about that too much and just focus on, trying the best that I could and just being content with whatever happened. But this entire week with the workouts that I did, for the most part, especially with the compound movements like the bench press and the squat, I wasn't able to do push those as heavily, which I'm I'm keeping that in mind, but I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not going to change anything. Like I mentioned with these workouts, I as long as things are working, there's no reason to change them, right? So if I'm noticing that something just isn't working and it's kind of working against me almost, then I might make a change to it. But if things are going good, then there's nothing for me to change. And that's the approach that I'm going to be taking. And that's the approach really that I have been taking for all this. And so, even though things didn't go as planned, I feel like 1 week isn't enough time for me to make that decision that a change needs to happen. I feel like if this happens again this week, then for the following week, I might consider making a change. But truly, just because of what happened last week with me traveling, coming back, feeling probably having some fatigue from, the traveling, the lack of sleep, I got sick, all those things, it's a bit too hard for me to make a conclusion that yes, this plan isn't working right now and I need to make a change on, my workout split, to because things just haven't been going as well because I haven't been feeling the greatest in my workouts and because I haven't been able to push as much weight, So I'm not going to do anything yet. I don't think I truly will need to, but it is something that I just noticed this week, and it is something that I'm taking into account and just keeping in my mind going into this week. So the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like there is, um, not to say that it's common, but I have heard that, if people are trying to, if they have a certain goal in mind with the plan that they're following, or they're not have kind of achieving the results that they'd like in X amount of time, or maybe just something goes wrong, I feel like a lot of people are pretty quick to just act when you kind of need to like step back and chill out a little bit because it could still be working, but you're just not giving it enough time. And again, with my workout split, I've been following this for some time now and it's been great for me. And so, because of that, I'm very, very cautious to change something that has worked so well for me for so long in the past, just because of one week where things didn't go that great. And there was a lot of things, in a sense, kind of working against me. So, I'm not going to do anything yet, and I feel like that's definitely advice that I would to give to somebody if they are not seeing the results that they'd like to see. Maybe just give it a little bit of time, and if you absolutely see nothing after that, to then make a change, but don't act on it so quickly, because again, it could be working. There could just be other factors that are maybe manipulating the results a little bit. So again, this week I'm going to be following the same plan. I'm going to kind of pretend like nothing happened last week or this past week going into this week and just doing things as I usually do. Hopefully that fatigue goes away. I'm finally getting over my sickness. I just have a bit of stuffiness, but like all in all, I feel good. So tomorrow, hopefully the stuffiness clears out. And like I said, I feel good. So tomorrow's workout should be fine. And then this past weekend or this weekend, I got plenty of sleep and I'm going to get good sleep again tonight. So there's really no worry there. So things should be looking a lot better this week. But yeah, I got sick, kind of started feeling it around like Tuesday, Wednesday. By Wednesday, I really felt it. And then Thursday, Friday, I was really feeling it. Saturday was kind of going down. And now Sunday, it's finally really going down. So just something that I've been kind of dealing with. And it's also important to recognize that things like this do happen. When someone is going through like a cutting phase or they're trying to bulk up or do they have some sort of plan, and a lot of times that's how it is, right? When you're in the fitness space, it's very plan orientated, and it should be, because you need to have some sort of objective or goal in mind. That's how you kind of go forward and kind of achieve these results. But just because you have this plan in mind, and you are working through and trying to carry these things out, doesn't mean that there aren't going to be any obstacles that come in your way that are potentially unexpected, right? You being sick is something that obviously you're not really expecting, but it does happen. Or say, for instance, you have to travel suddenly, or something comes along your way that honestly makes it a bit difficult. That's really, really where you have to start digging in and reaching. Uh, that's kind of going past that level of motivation and excitement, like we talked about before. And that's where you're really, really practicing that discipline that hopefully you have been, working on. Because I'll be honest, like this week, I did not want to work out at all. I did not want to work out. I didn't want to do my cardio or steps. I really just wanted to lay in bed and that's it. But I couldn't. I had that goal in mind. Now, if I was so sick to the point where it was absolutely like unhealthy for me to leave the house, then yeah, I get that. but that wasn't the case. For me, I definitely could still function. I just didn't feel the greatest. So because of that, I, made the decision that I'm still going to be going through with these things, and I'm still going to try to go through this plan to the best of my ability. Sure, my workouts might not be the greatest, but I'm still going to push through and just do the best that I can. And that's truly what's important. Now, say for instance, this past week, if I were to take it completely off, you know, it wouldn't have been the worst thing, but it potentially could have sent me back. Best case scenario, I would have, stayed the same as the previous week, but it potentially could have sent me back, and it just would have made the rest of this plan or journey of 10 weeks a bit harder. So, I did what I could, and I tried my best with the given circumstance, and I'm really happy with that. It does suck that I got sick, but that's just what I have to deal with, right? So, and I feel like that's also another good perspective to have if something unexpected does come up. Just when you're going through something like this, like some sort of cutting or dieting phase, um, just telling yourself that it's okay if something does happen and you're going to do your best to get through that situation, because it's not going to be perfect. I don't imagine anyone going through like a 10 week or 3 months, it's not going to be the most perfect conditions for you. There's going to be things that do come up, but you just have to adapt to it. And I feel like that also does build a pretty strong character. That teaches you definitely a lot of things, in my opinion. And that's quite honestly, this is kind of like a whole different tangent, but that's quite honestly why I feel like fitness, it's as cliche as it might sound, people are just like, oh, it really helped or transformed me as a person, and not just physically, but also like mentally. I definitely do see the truth in that, because you do have to make those decisions sometimes to do the things that you don't want to do, but you're going to push yourself through it. And I feel like that definitely translates into other areas too, because you're just building that character. You're building those attributes for yourself that if you apply those to other things, you're going to be doing great. So, kind of just like a little side note on how that could potentially help you in other areas, right? So, yeah, we got through that, and I remember, like, especially, I think it was Monday and Tuesday I went to the gym. Monday I hit chest, Tuesday I hit back and buys. Well, Monday was a push day, but I just remember those first 2 days, like, they were rough, because I started to feel that sickness coming in, and I was also pretty fatigued from my flight since we got back pretty late. And I was just like in my head, like, just do the best that you can, lower the weight a little bit, just try to do a bit higher repetitions that we usually do, because I couldn't go as heavy. I felt physically weak. Um, and going into the sickness, it still pretty much kept going where I felt weak. And then these past few days, now that I'm getting over it, it's gotten a little bit better, but I'm still not at 100%. But hopefully by tomorrow, I will be. So, yeah, going into this week now, again, we talked about this past week. We did the best that I could. In a situation like that too, I guess if you are curious, how I handle it, at least some others might do it differently, but there are some times where I don't feel like I can do the weight that I usually can, or that I have planned for that given day. Um, I as you're warming up, and that's a good way to kind of gauge it. That's why warm ups are really, really important. But when you're just starting off at, like, if, say for instance, you have a plan in mind, like, I'm going to start on shoulder press, and my plan is my working sets are going to be like, I don't know, 60 pounds. um you warm up to that weight first, right? So maybe you start off with 30, and then you go up to 50, and then you finally get up to your working set. Those warm up sets are important for a couple of different reasons. One, as I mean, the purpose of them is to warm your body up. So by the time you get to your working set, you really reduce this chance of you snapping something or getting some sort of injury, because your body's not, prepared to handle that weight. That's for one. You start warming up your joints, you start getting blood flowing, all that good stuff. But also, too, it gives you a good sense as to how those working sets are going to be, because there are some days where you might not be able to, go as hard as it usually could for whatever reason, and those warm up sets really help tell you that. Now, you just got to make sure that you are actually honest with yourself, because it could be very easy for you to be like, oh, as I'm warming up, I don't really feel like I'm going to be able to do this weight for this amount of repetitions, when in reality you probably could. Maybe you're just being lazy, or you're just kind of talking yourself out of it. So you got to be very careful with that. I feel like that just comes with experience and time and just knowing yourself. But if you truly are honest with yourself, you can get that information as you warm up, so that by the time you get to your working weight, you don't potentially run the risk of, just kind of failing, and almost kind of like, you don't run the risk of trying that weight and just kind of failing right away, because you already, in a sense, could see that coming. But again, you do have to be very honest with yourself. So that's what I definitely felt on pretty much Monday and Tuesday. The rest of the week, I decided that I'm just gonna lower the weight a little bit, not too little, but a little bit. But Monday, when I started benching, especially once I got to 225, I could really feel that. 225 on bench is usually when I can feel how that bench session is gonna go. Um, as soon as I got to 225, that felt super, super heavy for me. And I knew that any sort of working weights that I'd be doing in the 240s or 250s or whatever, that it wasn't going to be worth it to try to attempt it. So what I decided to do instead was just have 225 be my working weight for the week, and just do that for more repetitions. So that's what you can kind of do if you feel like maybe a certain day you're not going to be able to perform as well. Because yeah, I say that, you try to put in your best effort, but also, even if you put in your best effort, you still run the chance of not being able to push as much as what you usually do, right? Your effort is only going to take you so far. So because of that, you really need to just use those, you need to use those, what am I trying to say? You need to use those warm up sets as a way to kind of gauge that, because if you don't, then you might run the risk of injury, right? And you don't want to do that. That's the last thing you want to do. Running the risk of injury, because that's what really takes you out. If you injure yourself and you take like weeks and weeks off, that'll really mess you up, right? And you're really trying to avoid that, because yeah, once you get an injury, you're going to be out for some time, or you're not going to be able to go, and be as effective as what you usually can be. You're not going to be able to push as heavy or whatever. So yeah, injury is what you want to avoid at all costs. So make sure that you do your due diligence, warming up, stretching. I need to do a better job at stretching, to be honest. I really slack on it. I do have a, what are they called? A Theragun. Those like massage guns. I do use that quite a bit, especially when I'm working, because I'm just sitting. I'm just like, well, might as well do this and do something on my computer, kind of knock two things out at once. But yeah, stretching is something that I personally need to just do more of. So, um, I know, and I always get that saying, like, right now, sure, I can get away with it because of my age, but later down the road, it's probably not going to be the case. And I believe that. I truly do believe that. But I'm just being dumb, and I just keep neglecting it. So definitely, that's one of my things that I'm trying to just improve upon for myself this year, is just take stretching more seriously. Um, so yeah. So going back to the original topic, right? So this upcoming week, I'm really trying to just focus on doing what I usually do. Don't worry about the weight that I was pushing last week. Almost use that as like a nothing really. Now thinking about it out loud, or saying it out loud, um, kind of just not forgetting about it, but just understanding what happened, learning from it, and then moving on. I don't want to beat myself up because of what happened last week. Again, I tried the best that I could. Yes, it is a bummer that I got sick, but it happens. You get over it and you move on. So this week, again, I'm just going to be following the plan as is. Tomorrow, I'll be hitting a back day, back and biceps. So we'll be starting off with that. Tomorrow is Monday. And yeah, we're going to be going through that. In terms of cardio too, my cardio, I haven't felt the need to increase it. I'm still dropping weight at a good pace, so there hasn't been really a need for me to increase it. I'm still just doing like light or steady state kind of cardio, just getting in my 10K steps. Some days it's a little bit more, but that's been going great so far. I have been doing a little bit of running here and there, but it's just really whenever I personally feel like it, and also when the weather allows for it, because I personally hate running on a treadmill. So yeah, we'll see how the weather is this week. I might do a little bit of running, but for sure I'm going to be getting my 10K steps every single day and just continue with that. Calories are still kind of where we what we were doing before, so anywhere from like a 500 to 1,000 calorie deficit is what we're looking at each day. And yeah, we're just going to be sticking with that. I give myself a range. Again, that's very intentional because one, I'm not perfect. I don't strive to like I find it very like I don't find it enjoyable or not enjoyable because this whole process I guess isn't the most enjoyable, but I just don't like being strict on myself and saying I need to hit X amount of calories because things happen. Things happen. Maybe I might want a little bit more. Maybe I don't need as much. And I just feel like that kind of alleviates a lot of the worriness that can come with, hitting a certain calorie goal. So giving myself a range really helps out with that. And also, like I said, sometimes I feel like I just need more food. Maybe I'm just more hungry or I hit legs. I feel like when I do legs, I tend to get more hungry. So, yes, we will be sticking to that range. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else really to discuss for this week's vlog. I don't think so. We talked about a decent amount of things already. Oh my god. So it's so funny. So it's kind of something, it's like a little tangent. We'll do like a little tangent to a little rant, I guess, to end the stream. Or to end the stream, to end the video. So last week, funny enough, I ran into um, I guess, I guess you'd call him an influencer. I was not expecting this to happen at all. It was just kind of something that did. But I met Kenny KO, if any of you know that name. He's essentially a dude that, and I didn't even know this. I didn't even know he still made these types of videos because it's been like a long time since I saw something from him. Just because I don't view fitness content that much anymore. I watch it here and there, but I don't really watch it too much. But he's someone, the guy that asks people if they're natty or not, and he like just makes videos about that stuff. At least from the research that I did earlier this week, that seems to be still like the main content that he makes. I could be wrong because again, I haven't seen him in a very long time, but from what I saw, like a quick overview of his channel, I think those are still pretty much the videos that he makes. So yeah, I ran into him, and so I met him. One of my buddies told me like, "Dude, I think that's Kenny KO," and then I kind of like was just like shocked because I was like, "That's not a name that I feel like I would have heard as like I don't know. It's just not a name that I would have thought to be brought up." And then I like looked, and I was like, "That kind of does look like Kenny KO." And then my friend goes up to him and he's like, "Yeah, that's Kenny KO." So we like meet him. He's a cool dude. Yeah, he's a chill dude. We just said hi to him. Um, but the reason why I bring him up is because when I saw that he makes the natty or not videos, it got me thinking about just like how all of that stuff is perceived right now in the current day of like people that are enhanced or they're taking something compared to people that aren't taking something. I know there's a lot of controversy with that stuff, and I feel like nowadays too, there's a lot of people that are on something more than you would think, in my opinion. I feel like before it was, I don't know, maybe we're just people are just better at hiding it. I don't really know. If I'm being completely honest, like even at the gyms that I go to, yeah, I know it's around, but it's not really something that I like investigate too much on my own because I mean, I don't do that stuff. So why, there's not really a reason for me to like see what people are doing or if I really even care. But it got me thinking like I feel like nowadays, there's definitely a bad perception on people that do end up taking that stuff. And I feel like a big part of it is because people are just taking that stuff recklessly, which I do understand. That part I do agree with where and I mean, you can, every person can do whatever they want with their body, but I feel like it's a bit irresponsible for people, especially on the internet, especially with the large following that they have. It is a bit irresponsible knowing that you have potential influence on other people and you're promoting this type of stuff. It is a bit reckless in my opinion. Am I saying, should you do it, should you not? I mean, that's not really up to me to say, right? Because I'm not that person. They can do whatever they want. But in my opinion, it is a bit reckless, because you are, even if it's indirectly, but you are still kind of influencing someone's choice of, hopping on when they really shouldn't be. Especially with, it's kind of crazy the ages that I see some of these people, they decide and they make that decision to hop on for reasons that really don't make that much sense. It's all just kind of like clout based, or they just want to get bigger for attention, or again, it's it's not necessarily like I feel bad because it's the choice that they decided to make, so it's hard for me to feel bad or upset about it. It doesn't. But it's just a bit odd for me to see that because you're, in a sense, putting yourself through, in my opinion, kind of permanent damage. And it's not something that you've probably thought through completely. Sure, you might see some short term gains, but you really don't know what that's going to be or look like, 30 years down the road for you. And like I said, also, too, with those individuals that have a large influence, it is a bit reckless, again, in my respectful, humble opinion, because you are influencing other people to take it. Whether you like it or not, you are an influence. Um, but the reason why I bring all this up is because it is something that is very popular online for people to do to express that they are taking it, or just seeing the workouts that people are doing while they're taking this stuff. um, it can be a bit deceiving because there are a ton of people, and I remember I kind of not fell into this trap, but I remember like years ago, there would be like random people that I would see online when like fitness content was just getting started, where they would post themselves like doing workouts and doing this and doing that. And you'd look at these people and like, damn, like these guys are in really good shape. They made a transformation in supposedly like, I don't know, 3 years, and they look like that. Like, I need to do what they do so I can look like that. Where that is like far from the truth. There's so many things that they aren't showing you that uh kind of got them to that point. That could be, these enhancements like I've been talking about. It could be that some of them just straight up lied and they've been training for a lot longer than probably what they say. Um, and also like surgeries too. That's another big part into this too. I feel like more so nowadays. Maybe not so much back then. I don't know. Maybe these are just again opinions and thoughts that I have. But I feel like surgeries are another thing, especially that are common nowadays. People do get different modifications on themselves for various reasons. So it might not even be a natural thing, right? So it doesn't just have to be like some sort of enhancement like that, but it could be, um, like some sort of like surgery that they have on them. But yeah, again, the reason why I bring this up is because if you see content online of someone saying that they made X transformation or they're able to achieve X results because of this or whatever it might be, really, really take that with a grain of salt, because that might not actually be the case. And I especially see this with the older generations. You know what I'm saying? I love them, respect them. But, when I have like aunts or uncles coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I saw this video on, I don't know, YouTube or Facebook of this model doing like crunches, like sets of like 1000, and she has like washboard abs, and they're like, I need to do this to get those abs." In my head, I'm like, no, there's a lot, like that's not how this works. There's so many other things that that person isn't showing you, and they're probably just trying to sell you some sort of program, and they're using their flashy abs to kind of, trick you into thinking that, because there's a lot of things that go into, getting abs. It's not just doing 1000 sets of crunches, and even then that's not going to get you abs. Abs, like any other muscle, requires just strengthening of them. There's progressive overload that's going to get you those. And also you have to be lean enough to be able to see them. A lot of men tend to store, especially me, a lot of men tend to store body fat around their waist or stomach area. So if you're not lean enough, chances are you're probably never going to see them. And even if you do have that muscle there, again, chances are if you're not lean enough, you will not see them. Um, so that it requires two things to really see your abs. You need to be lean enough, and you need to have a solid set of abs. So you need to train them like any other muscle group, and you can get them. It's achievable. But doing your crunches and trying to buy a program like that and this like keto diet, it's not going to get you abs, but that's what those people are trying to sell you. And it's very unfortunate that people that just don't know any better, tend to fall into those traps. That's why I said in my previous opinion with people that are enhanced, um, I think it is pretty reckless that they are doing these things and just showing it to the internet. And their mentality is, yeah, I'm not their child, I'm not their this, so why should I care? I get that part, that is true. But again, it not saying that it is wrong or it is good that you are doing that. In my opinion, it's just irresponsible, because you're feeding that information into a demographic that doesn't know how to make grown-up decisions for themselves. And they think that you are the king in the world, when in reality you're not, right? You're just some average person, if we're being honest. So not to put any hate or blame or any of that, but these are just, again, opinions that I have. And yeah, so, and especially too, like I said, when I start seeing that stuff impact people that I'm close with, because they think something is right when it's wrong, because they saw content that someone posted, some not so intelligent person posted this content to trying to trick this person, or maybe they just don't know any better. It makes me feel bad. Like, I feel bad for the person that it is affecting, because I could be there to tell them that's not the reality of it. It's actually this. But say, for instance, I'm not there. Then what? They're going to probably maybe follow and go through with that false information, and they're going to be disappointed in the end. And you really hate to see that, right? The whole purpose of this is for you to be a healthier individual. But if you're just digging people into a further grave because you're feeding them poor information, false information, you're lying to them, it's messed up. It's truly messed up, and you're doing it just for gain. So I don't know. It's a very, 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 very interesting industry. Um, and yeah, it's pretty unfortunate to see sometimes. But I feel like it also, on the flip side of that, it's also a reason as to why I like to do these types of videos, because I'm personally not here to, I'm not selling anyone anything. I'm just speaking my thoughts, sharing what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me. And again, I'm using it as just like a place for me to like journal my thoughts for at a later point, if I want to look back on this when I want to see how I, went through a cut. But also too, if other people are viewing this and trying to get something out of it. Again, I mean, you can take what I say with a grain of salt, but these are just things that I've experienced in the past. And again, I'm not trying to sell you anything, so you can take this information if you'd like or not. But what I will say, and regardless of what you believe, the one thing that I feel like if you are going to take something out of this is, regardless of what you hear online, please, please make sure to do your own research before you pull the trigger. Before you do, that sounds terrible. Not literally, please don't do that. I mean figuratively, regardless of what you do. make sure that you do your own research on a particular topic. And it could be anything. It can literally be anything. It could be, say, for instance, if you're trying to learn how to, I don't know, you're trying to learn how to count macros, for instance. Sure, you might have seen me talk about it, but if you want to, like, maybe uh, kind of further see if what I'm saying is wrong and you'd like to go ahead and try to fact check this, check out somebody else's content, you know? Get into the habit, I feel like, of not taking everything that people say, you know, as a one source of truth, unless you really trust that person. But if you don't, again, do your research and just see if that's actually the best way to go about something, because it might not be. And the worst thing that you want to do is dump in so much time and energy and resources into something for it only to be something that's wrong, false, or someone lied to you, right? That is terrible. That's the worst feeling ever. You do not want to put yourself through that. So, again, do your research. It's so funny how I got here, because I literally thought about this just because of that whole enhanced stuff that I talked about earlier. And it reminded me of that again because of the person that I met last week, right? Kenny KO. So that thought of meeting him kind of just put me through a whole spiral this week, which is pretty funny. I feel like that's typically how my mind goes, is once I like think about something, I'm very easy to just like, but that happens like over time for me. That's not just all like in that one day. That's just like, oh, like I'm just picking up a thought from yesterday and I'm picking it up today and I'm just going to continue that thought. So, yeah, just something that's very interesting. But that was pretty funny. I was not expecting to meet Kenny KO. That was something that I did not have on my bucket list. You know, no offense, but it was cool. And again, he was a chill dude. So no, yeah, that was fun. But but yeah, guys, I think we'll go ahead and call it there. I think we're running at, what is this, 40 minutes. So 40-minute video. We talked about a decent amount of things today. Again, a recap of this past week, and we're gonna execute this week. We're gonna do it greatly. We're gonna go in with high effort, high everything, high energy. Um, Getting over this sickness, so I'm really happy about that. And it's just gonna be a great week overall. So I will update you guys on this when the time comes. But in the meantime, thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. So again, 1 week from now, Sunday. All right, take care, guys. Peace.